We are in middle of Likutey Moharan Torah Yud Dalid, and we are in middle of Otchet, part 8, in Torah Yud Dalid. Torah Yud Dalid is called LeHamshich Shalom. Now Rabbi Nachman is explaining to us how once you've accomplished all the things, the aspects, all the parts of the formula that we spoke about until now, that is to return kavod, Hashem's glory, to its source, so that you experience awe of Hashem's glory. The source of kavod, the source of glory and honor, is fear, is yira, awe. It's more like awe than fear. And when you experience awe of Hashem's glory, then that is a sign that the glory, the kavod, has been returned to its source. Another sign that the glory has been returned to its source is when you glorify and honor those people that are God-fearing, the Yirei Shamayim. And so now Rabbi Nachman says, moving on, because all of this is a formula in order to explain to us how we draw peace. So now that the first prerequisite was, the first requirement was to return kavod to its source, and that we've, in the past 7 parts of this Torah, the 7 otiot in this Torah, we explained that already. But now, what's the next part? Because we have to get to the part where understanding how returning kavod to its source will allow us and will help us to draw peace. And so now Rabbi Nachman is explaining that part. And he says that when you return the kavod, the honor, the glory of Hashem to its source, so then the aspect of yira, the midah of yira, which is fear in its first outer part, in its outer form, it's fear. In its outer representation, it's fear. When it's deeper and greater and more expanded, then it's awe. And so that is the midah of gevura. Yira is gevura. Fear is the midah, the sphere of gevura. And last shir we explained how the sphere of gevura is really the place where all deficiencies come from. All adversity is from there. Judgment, concealment, constriction, lack, all of that is connected to the midah of gevura, which is fear. And so when you return awe to fear, when you return honor of Hashem to awe, when you return kavod to yira, so then that rectifies the midah of gevura. And that completes all of the deficiencies, all of the lack that was there in this midah of gevura. And that is what causes peace. So when fear is no longer fear, because now it has been completed, what does it mean that fear is no longer fear? So there's another place in Likutey Moharan where Rabbi Nachman explains that fear in its disconnected form, and why is it disconnected? Rabbi Nachman explains because of a person's sins. A person is living in a disconnected way, disconnected from Hashem, disconnected from the divine. And that's the sins that he has. And Rabbi Nachman says that causes a person to have pain and adversity in his life. And every one of the details in that person's life that a person is worried about, and a person is experiencing anxiety over, right? Trying to control and trying to fix and worrying about this and worrying about that and having adversity, having tzarot, having constricted experiences from this and constricted experiences from that, okay? And that is causing a person to use the animal brain or the animal self, the nefesh bahamit, in order to try through the ego to fix all of these things on the outside. And so then a person is living in a disconnected way, and a person is living from their lower self. Rabbi Nachman explains that what happens is that a person experiences the energy of fear and anxiety, what's called yira. It's being enclosed in all the many details in that person's life that a person is experiencing adversity from. Because whenever you have a lack, a deficiency, something is not going the way you want it to go, right? So as soon as something in your life, and usually it's many things at once because it comes from a certain state of mind, and when a person is in that lower state of mind, so then everything shows up in that chaos, in that chaotic disconnect, going against the will of the person, going against what is your intention. So what happens is really what is happening on a deeper level, Rabbi Nachman explains, is that the energy of fear has been enclosed within all of these many, many different aspects, and it's coming to awaken a person to reconnect it to its source. Okay? It's kind of like sending you a signal from here and from here and from here and from here. Hey, something is not right. And Rabbi Nachman says, when you return that energy, when you return the Shekhinah to its source, when you rectify it through Teshuvah, Rabbi Nachman explains how does a person do Teshuvah. It has to do with the confession, right? The awareness of the problem. That's the confession, verbalizing it. When you rectify that, so then from all those many fears that you had, you're afraid of this and you're afraid of that and all those many things on the outside, they are all combined into in one energy of awe of the Ribono Shel Olam. Okay, and this is also, so this is Rabbi Nachman in another Torah in the Likutey Moharan. Now this is also very, very similar, almost I guess I would say it's the same idea as a Torah that we see from the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov says on the pasuk in Sefer Dvarim, where Moshe Rabbeinu tells Am Yisrael, Ve'ata Yisrael, ma Hashem Elohecha shoel me'imach, ki im le'yira et Hashem. And now, O Israel, what is Hashem, your God, asking from you? He is only asking from you to fear Him. He's only asking from you to have yirat shamayim, to fear Him, to have awe of the Ribono Shel Olam. So famous Gemara, the Gemara, I think it's Masechet Brachot, says, Atu yira milta zutratai. Is the fear of Hashem such a small thing? We know that the whole purpose of all Torah and all mitzvot is in order to give us a spark of genuine awe of the Ribono Shel Olam, right? Rabbi Yochanan, before he passed away, the holy Rabbi Yochanan, before he passed away, and his Talmidim asked him for a blessing, they asked him for a bracha, and he gave them a bracha, that the fear of Hashem, the fear of heaven should be upon you, at least as much, or he says just as much, he doesn't say at least as much as you fear people, and you do not act in certain ways in front of people because you're ashamed to act in a certain way in front of people, you should fear Hashem in the same way. So his Talmidim said to him, Atkan, really? That's it? This is your big bracha? So he said to them, Halavai. He said to them, I wish that this blessing you should merit. If you merit this is a great, great level. If you merit that the awe that you have of Hashem is as great as the awe that you have of people, and even when people are not around, you act in the same way as if people were around, because you are aware that Hashem is always around. I wish that you should have that level of Yirat Shamayim. So we know that Yirat Shamayim, the awe of Hashem, which is basically based on true emunah, it's constant visualizing. Ramchal explains that in the Shar of Yirat Shamayim in Mesilat Yesharim. He explains that a person achieves this level of Yirat Shamayim, which is the basic Yirat Shamayim, but it's a great level, through constantly visualizing and recognizing that you're in the presence of Hashem and acting as if, even if you don't feel it completely, but start acting as if you actually recognize, truthfully know that Hashem is here. And how would you act if you were right now, if you were actually Hashem who could be seen, and you were in His presence, and sense it. How would you act? Act in that way. And by doing that constantly, so then that builds that part of your consciousness to a point where it's real. And this is what all Torah and all mitzvot is leading to, right? The Gemara says that a person who learns Torah doesn't have Yirat Shamayim. It's like a person who builds the outside gate, but he doesn't have a house beyond the gate, right? Because all of Torah and mitzvot is going to get you to that. And so Moshe Rabbeinu tells Am Yisrael, Hashem only wants from you to have awe and fear of Hashem. That's it. So the Gemara says, why is it such a small thing? So the Gemara answers, for Moshe Rabbeinu, it was a small thing. But then the question all the Meforshim asked, but fine, but Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking to Am Yisrael. And yes, for Moshe Rabbeinu, it was a small thing, but he's speaking to Am Yisrael. So why does he say only a small? It's only fearing Hashem. So there are many explanations. One of the explanations is that, what does it mean in the Gabe Moshe Milta Zutratahi, the words of the Gemara? Yes, but for Moshe or next to Moshe, it's a small thing. The little translation is, but next to Moshe, Legabe Moshe Milta Zutratahi. It's a small thing. And the answer is that means that when you connect yourself to the Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation, which is one of the foundations of the lessons that Rabbi Nachman taught, the connection to the tzaddikim, that allows you to merit tremendous levels of connection to Hashem. Included in that are the tremendous levels of Yirat Shamayim, even though it's such a tremendous level, and even though you're so far from it, if you were standing by yourself, but through the connection to tzaddikim, you can merit and achieve that. Another explanation, this is from the Baal Shem Tov, that the Baal Shem Tov looks at the words of ki'im, and the words ki'im the yira, only to fear Hashem. It's not, one understanding is that it means it kind of like sounds like it's saying that fearing Hashem is a small thing, only to fear Hashem. Baal Shem Tov explains it differently. He says, what does it mean only to fear Hashem? It means that Hashem, Moshe Rabbeinu is telling Am Yisrael, Hashem wants you to transform the many, many different fears that you have, from the many to the one. That's what it means, ki'im. He wants you to only fear Hashem. Instead of having the energy of fear outside in the chaos of the many, many, many details of the world, he wants you to go inside to rectify that energy of fear, and then now you only have one fear or one awe. The energy of yira is one awe, and that's the awe of the Ribbon Shalom. Okay, so a person who has accomplished that has inner peace. That's the experience. He's not afraid of anything. That's why Yitzchak Avinu, right? Our father Yitzchak, even though he is known as the Merkava, he's the throne for the energy of Gevura, for the sphere of Yira, of Gevura, he's called Yitzchak, which means to laugh. Because when you rectify the energy of Gevura and you've connected it to its source, so the whole world is just laughter. You're not afraid of anything in the world because you're in Hashem's hands and everything is taken care of for you. You have awe of Hashem and you have no fear. You fear nothing and no one. And so you're just laughing always. And so that's that experience of the shalom, the peace that comes from rectifying the yira when you have connected yira to the honor of Hashem. Now, that energy of yira, the sphere of gevura, is connected with the glory of Hashem. Okay, so you're only experiencing that energy in connection and in the context of the glory of the Ribbon Shalom, how great Hashem is. So Rabbi Nachman says that through that you're achieving shalom, peace. But he says that there are two types of peace. There's one type of peace in your own personal body, in your own personal self, what's called shalom ba'atzamav, peace in your bones. Okay, and peace in your bones is through this yira, through the fear of Hashem that you have rectified now, that you are in awe of the Ribbon Shalom. The Zohar teaches us that in a place where there is fear of Hashem, right, the yira has been rectified, and now instead of fearing all the many things in the outside world, you have only awe of the Ribbon Shalom. the Zohar says, Taman tishtakach shlimta. Over there you have completion, you have perfection. And the word for peace, shalom, comes from the word shalem, which means to be complete and to be perfect. And so now you have complete perfection in your own personal body. Your bones, all the many different parts of your body are coherent. They're not, just like your consciousness, your awareness is not out there in the chaos of all the many things that you're afraid of and worrying about and stressing over. Where is it? Where is your awareness? It's on the inside. It's on the Ribono Shel Olam, on the one, on the Ein Od Milvado. So in the same way, your physical and your emotional and your psychological and your spiritual self, all of the many parts that are going on are all working coherently. They're all unified and combined as one, working in unison for, integrated as one for your health, for your life, experiencing shlemta, as the Zohar says, which is perfection, wholeness. Okay? And Rabbi Nachman brings a pasuk in Tehillim that points to this experience. And the pasuk is the famous pasuk that we say, Ki en machsor li're'av. There is no lack for those that fear Hashem. Meaning that when you experience the fear as an awe of Hashem, you have rectified that energy, that sphere of Gevurah, you lack nothing. Okay? Because all lack comes from Gevurah that is disconnected. The sphere of the energy of fear, when it's disconnected from source, that's where all lack comes from. As we explained in the previous year, mitzafon tipatach hara'a, from the north comes all of adversity. But when you rectify the sphere, that the energy of the north is a sphere of Gevurah, by connecting it to source, so then there's no lack. There's no more lack. And now says Rabbi Nachman, and now I'm going to continue reading. So we're in the middle of the paragraph in Od Chet. So says Rabbi Nachman, כשיש שלום בעצמיו, אז יכול להתפלל, כי עיקר התפילה על ידי היראה בבחינת אישה יראת השם היא תתהלל. כי התפילה במקום קורבן. ובקורבן כתיב בכל אשר בו מום לא יקרב, או כשאין בו מום, היינו באתרא דאית דחילה, אזי יקרב לעבוד עבודתו תמה. So says Rabbi Nachman, now that you have rectified the energy of Yira, the sphere of Gevurah, now you're only in awe of the Ribono Shel Olam, and you fear nothing but Hashem. Now you're able, so now you have wholeness, and because you have wholeness and you're complete, now you're able to pray. Now you're able to dive into Hashem. Why? Because prayer, says Rabbi Nachman, is through the midah of Yira. Why do we know this? So Rabbi Nachman always proves everything. He doesn't prove things based on Kabbalah. Everything is Kabbalah in the words of Rabbi Nachman. It's the deepest Kabbalah, right? But he doesn't say, because as we know, the Arizal says like this and the Arizal says like that. He tries to explain it in experientially, right? So here too. So first of all, Kabbalistically, we know clearly that tefillah, prayer, is just another name for Malchut, for the Shechina. And like David HaMelech says, David is the throne for Malchut, from the seven shepherds, right? The Shiva Ro'im, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. David is Malchut, the sphere of Malchut, and Malchut is the Shechina. And David HaMelech says, David, who is Malchut, says, V'ani tefillah, I am prayer. So Malchut is prayer. Malchut is the aspect of prayer. And Malchut is the aspect of fearing of Hashem. Okay? Fearing of Hashem is the aspect of Malchut. Just so it's more understood from a Kabbalistic point of view, we know that we have in this 10 Sfirot, we have 3 different categories of the Sfirot. We have the category of Sfirot on the right side, what's called the Kav Yamin, the channel on the right side, and those are Sfirot that are kind, more kind, complete kindness. We have the channel, the Kav Small, the on the left side, the line of Sfirot or the category of Sfirot on the left side, which are Gevurah, complete judgment. And then we have the category of the Sfirot in the middle, which are they are a combination from the 2 sides, and they're in the middle. Now, when you have Chesed, for example, Chesed is on the right side, Gevurah is on the left side. Tiferet is in the middle. It's a combination of Chesed and Gevurah. Okay, it's a mizug. Mizug, it's a mizug. It's a mixture of the kindness and the judgment energy in the middle. And then you have Netzach on the right side, Hod on the left side, and then you have Yesod in the middle. Okay? And then you have Malchut that comes underneath, and that's also in the middle column. But, and this is an important point, in Kabbalah, it is explained, in the Zohar, it's explained that even though Yesod and Malchut are in the middle, but the Yesod is more kindness than judgment. Even though it's in the middle, it's more kindness than judgment. That's the Yesod. And the Malchut, even though it's in the middle, and it's supposed to be an equal mixture of kindness and judgment, but the Malchut is more judgment than kindness. Okay? So the Yesod is more kind, more chesed than gvura, and the Malchut is more gvura than chesed. Okay? And that's expressed in the fact that the Yesod is the mashpia, the Yesod is the one that is giving, and the Malchut is the one that's receiving. And mashpia, giving others, right, shining and expressing, is more of a kindness characteristic, and receiving is more of a judgment characteristic. Okay, fine. So now that we've explained that, so we understand that Malchut is tefillah, Malchut is prayer, and Malchut is judgment. It's a judgment energy, and it's also the aspect of kavod. It's also the aspect of glorify. Shem kevod malchuto. And when you rectify the malchut and connect her to the tiferet through the yesod, right? So then what happens is that kavod, which is the characteristic of malchut, what being a king is all about, is the honor. That's the characteristic of a king, is now reconnected to Hashem. And now there is awe of Hashem's glory, because the glory, the kingship of Hashem is now by Hashem. Now Hashem is seen as the king. And so Rabbi Nachman says, when you have completed that, when you had combined that, and you have elevated and brought back the Malchut to its source, and you have caused that unification to happen, you experience peace. And peace is another name in the Zohar for the Yesod. So, because that's exactly what has happened. When you have combined and unified the Malchut with the Tiferet through the Yesod, now the Malchut is filled with the light of the Yesod. And the Yesod is called Shalom, like we see by Pinchas. Hineni noten lo et beriti Shalom. I'm giving him my covenant of peace because of what he did on the behalf of glorifying and honoring the holiness of the covenant, the holiness of the Brit, which is the Yesod. Okay, so the Yesod is the Shalom. And so therefore, when you complete and you rectify the Malchut and bring her back to her source, you experience this peace, as Rabbi Nachman says. That's the light of the Yesod that is filling the Malchut. And now you're able to pray, because prayer is all about causing that connection. Okay, when a person is able to connect the Malchut is the energy within you that is giving you life. It's Hashem that is dwelling within us, the energy of Hashem dwelling within us, giving us life. When that is able to be connected, right, like the outlet is connected in the wall, right, to the electrical socket, right? So there's an electrical connection. That's just a metaphor, right? So when that connection happens, that's what prayer is all about, is causing that unification between the Malchut and the Shechina and Kudsha Brichu. And so now that you have elevated the Malchut and reconnected her, you're able to pray, because there is wholeness. There is a complete circuit, right? There's a complete connection that is going on. And so there's wholeness. And says Rabbi Nachman, when you want to bring a korban, when you want to bring a sacrifice in the Beit HaMikdash, we have to make sure, says Rabbi Nachman, that the animal that you are sacrificing is complete, it's whole. There are no blemishes in that animal. And so Rabbi Nachman says, in the same way, now that you have experienced, now you're experiencing wholeness, which is the peace, the shalom that you're experiencing in yourself, in your bones. now you are able to pray, because prayer is just another form of korbanot. Prayer is the sacrifices that we are doing today. Sacrificing an animal was just elevating all of the elements of this physical world to the next world, so that the lower world is integrated within the higher world, and the light of Hashem, how he is revealed in the higher world, is experienced here as well, in the same way. Okay, that's what sacrificing, that's what the korbanot are, right? You take the animal that includes within it the inanimate, the plant, and the animal itself is the animal life. These are those elements, and I'm seeing myself, I'm seeing, as I'm sacrificing the animal, that it is as if I'm sacrificing my animal self, and all of those elements are being elevated, and they are brought up on the mizbeach. They're all combined, and they're all connected one to another. They're all being brought up, and in the same way, that causes ascension for all of these aspects in the reality, in the physical reality in this world, and the whole world is elevated as well, and everything is lifted up as well, right? So that's what prayer is all about. When you pray to Hashem, you are taking your physical reality and connecting to Hashem through it, and that you're causing a connection, a unification between the energy of Hashem within you that's giving you life and source. Okay, what's called the Mimali Kol Almin, the energy of Hashem that fills the world with Soviv Kol Almin, with the aspect of Hashem's light that surrounds the world. And that gives a new life to me in this experience, in this physical experience. That's what prayer is all about. So when you have connected, elevated, lifted, and connected the Malchut to its source, and that's experienced as glorifying Hashem, honoring Hashem, and experiencing awe of Hashem's glory, and glorifying those that fear and are in awe of Hashem, then that means that the Malchut is reconnected, and you experience peace because of that connection. You experience the Yesod. The Yesod is Shalom, it's called peace. And when you experience that, says Rabbi Nachman, now you can pray, because this is what prayer is all about. Prayer is all about causing that connection to happen. Okay? And so that's why Rabbi Nachman says that prayer is all about fearing Hashem, elevating the fear so that now you're only in awe of the Ribono Shel Olam. As we see in the Pasuk in Mishlei, the Pasuk says, Isha yirat Hashem, hi tithalal. A woman who fears Hashem, she shall be praised. Tithalal, being praised, is also the whole idea of prayer. Okay, so through the woman who is fearing of Hashem, who is that woman? That's the Shekhinah, right? That she stands for awe of the Ribono Shel Olam. Then you can pray. When you have the Shekhinah with you, you can pray. That's also the whole reason for all the instructions we have in the Gemara about how a person should pray. It says a person should not pray if he's depressed, and a person should not pray if a person doesn't have Yishuv Adat. All these things are about making sure that you are in a right state that the Shekhinah can dwell upon you. Because only when that Shekhinah is with you can you pray. That's the first step in prayer. And that's why we also say right before Shemona Esrei, Adonai Sifatai Tiftachu Pi Agi Telatecha. The name Aleph Daled Nun Yud, right? Adni, that we say, is the name of the Shekhinah, because it's only with the Shekhinah that we are able to pray. And so says Rabbi Nachman, the prayer that is in the place of the sacrifice is in the place of the korbanot. And by the korbanot it says, Kol asher bo mum lo yikrav. If the sacrifice of the animal has a blemish, is lacking in any way, if it's lacking in any way, then you cannot bring it as a sacrifice. But if it's not lacking in any way, meaning that it's whole, then that's what is needed in order to bring a korban. And so you too, now that you are experiencing a wholeness, you are experiencing peace in your bones, right? Shalom ba'atzamav, because you have rectified yira, and now you're experiencing yira, fear and awe of the Ribono Shel Olam. So now you can draw close, you can come close to perform the service, to sacrifice the korbanot, to pray the prayers, and to cause that rectification to happen, the light of the Geula in the whole world through your prayer. בזה שכתוב בחנה, וחנה מדברת על ליבה, על ידי היראה זכתה לתפילה, כי עיקר היראה הוא בלב. And that's why it says by Hannah, the mother of Shmuel HaNavi. The mother of Shmuel HaNavi, it says that when she was praying to have a child, so it says that when the description and the psukim about how she was praying is that she was speaking to her heart. Okay? So why was she speaking to her heart? Says Rabbi Nachman, because it is through the heart that you experience the elevated level of awe of Hashem. Awe of Hashem, fear of Hashem in its expanded form, in its connected form, in that inner deep experience that comes in the heart. That's experienced in the heart, like we explained in previous shiurim, that wherever in the Torah, there's a rule in Chazal that דבר התלוי בליבו של אדם נאמר בו ויראת מאלוהיך. A mitzvah that is dependent, that is connected to the heart of a person, like loving your fellow man or not hating your fellow man in your heart, right? Lo tisna et achicha bilvavecha. So mitzvot like that, we see that many times the Torah ends off the pasuk by saying, and you shall fear Hashem your God. Right? And so we see from there that anything that fearing Hashem is connected to your heart. So a mitzvah that it has to do, that is going on in your heart, the Torah tells us to fear Hashem, because fearing Hashem comes from the heart. And so when it says about Chana that she was praying, speaking to her heart, it's because she was praying from that place, from a complete heart. A complete heart, meaning a connected heart. A connected heart connected to source is a heart that is rectified already the energy of Yira. And now she's experiencing only fear and awe of Hashem and of nothing else. Okay, because that's where you experience the expanded, connected state of Yira. You experience it in the heart. And from there you can pray. And that's why when it speaks about Chana praying in this wonderful way that she prayed in such a holy way, and we learn so many things in the Gemara and Masechet Brachot from the way she prayed, it says that she was praying, speaking to her heart, because that's where real prayer comes from. It comes from a heart that has rectified the honor and the glory of Hashem, that now you experience only fear and awe of the glory of Hashem and of nothing else on the outside. And it's it's an expanded state of Yira. And that heart experiences peace, experiences the wholeness and the peace, which is the light of the Yesod, because now the Malchut is connected to that. And from there you can pray, and that's what Chana was doing. Okay, and so we'll see the next aspect in this formula, Bezrat Hashem, in the next year.